Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the call. Obviously, we shared a great deal of stuff with you guys. We see the chat in here. I can see you're very, very, very excited about this call. Thank you for that. As always, thank you for taking time out of your schedules to join us on this call today. Very excited about what we're here to talk to you about. Obviously, Ryan and I, listen, guys, we said this is going to be one of the biggest calls of 24. We certainly hope to justify that, explain that. Not just hope, I think we expect to, and I think we know we're going to accomplish it. And so with that being said, without further ado, let's dive into our call. We're going to start with our agenda like we always do, folks.
Yeah.
You know I love to do that.
That's something what we're covering today.
Exactly. Let's make sure that you guys can help keep us on track as well. So, guys, we're going to start by talking about an economic revolution that has occurred within this country and why it's imperative that you understand and appreciate not only it, the cause of it, its dynamics, but I think just as important is the impact it's had on the two markets, again, we're going to talk about today, and the opportunity that that creates for each and every one of you. So with that being said, and without further ado, let's dive right into our content. So when we talk about an economic evolution, and Ryan, I'm going to want you to jump in early here.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at just the last decade or so. In fact, we'll go a little bit beyond that, go back approximately 15 years. I want you guys, we're going to use Amazon as a starting point here. Go back to 2011. If you can see on your screens, if you can't, try to enlarge it a little bit. Go back and look at the de minimis nature of online purchases as recently as 2011. Now, Ryan, you're an early adopter of stuff like this. Back then, right, when everybody was afraid, I can tell you guys, back when I was a kid, we were some of the last people in the country to have a computer and an internet set up in our house because
See, I was one of the first
I know
to
it,
have
I know it,
a
man.
computer.
Yeah, because we were convinced, I say we, my parents, were convinced that by God, our bank accounts were going to get hacked. This was going to happen. That was going to happen. And that ingrained anxiety resulted, at least in my family line, for a great resistance when it came to buying online. And actually, we're going to talk about that as this call develops and as we get into the impact of
I am
COVID.
precisely the opposite. I am on the early adopter side. But I'm also quick to abandon. Like I don't hold on to things when
No sacred cows.
No sacred cows. We will slaughter them all. So.
Exactly. But what I do want you guys to take from this as a starting point is, yes, once we had the internet, once the infrastructure was in place upon which it was constantly being improved, it was constantly being added to. When the infrastructure is in place, you have the ability to evolve. And we saw that. We saw that in communication. We saw that in all sorts of venues and avenues. We saw people adopting email. That became a regular part of business. Scanning documents as opposed to fax. All of these different things in the evolution of business, which made business faster, more potent, more agile, et cetera, et cetera. But then it started to have an impact that I don't think anybody early on really anticipated. Because our grandparents, our parents, all of us grew up in an environment where we had a very healthy, very strong, and very robust Main Street. And I think early on, nobody really had any level of appreciation for where this could and ultimately would, and honestly has. We can see it. We're able to look in history now as though we have a time machine. We can look back. And again, guys, as recently as 2011, let's take a look at the traction that didn't exist in online purchases and jump forward to last year. One of the things I want to point out too, guys, these numbers absolutely are manipulated. They're modified. We all know Amazon did more than $500 million in business last year. So these are nets and so on and so forth.
I want to point some out, and I see this all the time. People say that something really changed because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so often that's not actually true. And I want to use this as an example right here. So people say, oh, the malls, they've really been killed by COVID, or online shopping really accelerated under COVID. But if you look here, actually it didn't. It experienced its 10x growth long before COVID. Okay. So there were these leading indicators. And I think all that COVID did, Jason, was really solidify
Yes, it did. It
the
galvanized
trend in what was going to be happening.
Absolutely. And, let's go to our next slide, and you guys will see I want to talk about more than just Amazon. I want you guys to take a look at, as this evolution has occurred, as we look at the last 12 months, guys, look at the numbers on your screen. They're astronomical. Look at, we have Amazon, eBay, Walmart. I don't need to read them to you guys, but take a look at the aggregate of those numbers. It is staggering how much business is now being done on Main Street. And Ryan, as you just said, no, we were on this trajectory. If we went back to the last screen, you can see it. I think we spent enough time on there. We
Yeah.
don't need to go back. But had we gone back to that last screen, right, you would see it was just this incremental march forward year over year over year.
The
to this.
trend was there.
Absolutely.
The image was there. But what happens so often, we're going to talk about this later, is major industry ignores this.
Oh, God,
And Jason,
all the time,
I don't
yeah.
want to like steal from our thunder later, but one of the things I want people to understand, there's a reason they not only ignore it, but they do everything to try to stop it. Because you know who wins in a market like this? People like us, people
Absolutely.
like you. It's the little guy, okay? And for as large a company as we are a little guy.
Oh, God, yeah, we're
compared
not
to
a Fortune
Bezos
5.
and everybody. Yeah.
No,
So,
it's-
but I'll tell you why they want things to stay, why they don't like the disruptors, because in that they could maybe pick up most companies' market gain of 1, 2, 3%. Okay, that's all they can do. But somebody like us, we're in the same position Amazon was, where we can see
That's right.
10x, 100x, 500x, 5,000x. Why? Because there's a wide open door. And Jason, I don't want to steal from the thunder of what we're going to talk about later, but let me let you understand and get you excited about it. There is a gold rush coming and a gold rush available, unlike anything you've seen in your lifetime, your parents saw in their lifetime,
yeah, absolutely.
or Americans have seen in their lifetime. It is an opportunity, and we weren't shy in our invites saying,
No,
you need to be here. You need to understand what's going on.
absolutely. And as we talk about this, right, Ryan, as we talk about what we see and the opportunity that exists and what we can do, one of the things that I want to remind you new people of, right, all you folks that have been here for a good long time, you know this. You've been here year over year as we get on Mastermind, especially the last Mastermind of the year, right, Ryan? The last Mastermind of the year, every single year we come on and we give you guys the heartfelt thank you that each and every one of you deserve. As year over year over year, we are 200%, 300%, 400%. I think our best year, 577% of the year prior. So as we talk about these opportunities, we talk about what's on the horizon for you guys. It's not just us forecasting. It's not us just saying, hey, listen, this is what we think we can do. These are the opportunities that we think present themselves or have presented themselves or are about to present themselves. No, these are the realities that we have been leveraging, these dynamics, these circumstances that we have been leveraging for over 2 decades to consistently experience multiple 100 percentile growth year over year over year. And net of all of that, where we sit today, and Ryan, jump right in here, man. Where we sit today, we're in a position to make any growth, any performance, any results we've ever experienced in the last 20 plus years look silly, right? Look like JV.
Yeah.
Really?
There has never been a time where people need us more, where clients need you more. And Heather, let's talk about Main Street a little bit and kind of the impact that this is having. But before you go there, Jason, understanding that there's never, listen, when a market's good, people, of course, will take our money. Okay. But when a market is the way it is now and the conditions it is now, they not only will take it, they're begging for it. They need it. They need it for absolute survival.
Absolutely. No question about it. So as we talk about Main Street, you know, we're talking about, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Let's talk about the impact of Main Street. Heather, if you would, let's go back. Let's take a look at those articles again. Guys, I want you to see this. We had it there. I jumped ahead. Sorry, guys. But I want to comment on these real quick before we move on. Take a look at these taglines. These are the articles. Remember, every call we ever do, anytime I give you guys stats, anytime I give you details, we're always going to back it up with the sources. We're always going to give you the data. Anybody can do this research. And in fact, if you want these particular articles, I have them archived. Just reach out to support. We'll get them over to you guys. But take a look at what we're saying here. Downtown, right? Downtowns are dead or dying. They're on life support. The experts say after 50 years of research, take a look at the next one. Retailers are not abandoning downtown because of crime. In fact, as we get into that article, you have Nordstrom's, you have these flagship locations that are the #1 for the world in these various locations. This one here we're talking about is San Francisco. They're not abandoning because of the crime, right? That's a convenient statement. And the reality is there's pockets all over the country, major cities all over the country that absolutely are in state of despair. That's not the focus of today's call. It's a reality nonetheless, and certainly is impacting business, but that's not the reason they're leaving. They're leaving because this evolution, in conjunction with a series of other details that we're going to discuss as we work our way through this call, are setting them up such that they cannot survive, right? You heard Ryan just say moments ago, this is a matter of survival. And survival on Main Street is a critical topic. It's of critical import, or should be, for each and every one of you, right? Each and every one of you needs to understand Main Street. Let's talk about some stats, right? Main Street employs 62% of Americans. What's going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now, as we drive through each and every one of these towns and they look like ghost towns? There is no industry. There are no jobs. What are we going to do? 62% of Americans are employed by Main Street. 44% of our GDP is produced on Main Street. We can't have the realities that are on your screen right now in front of you. We can't have them. We just can't afford them under any circumstances. Nobody can. Let's keep going. Let's pile on and keep looking at the other aspects, everything else that has impacted Main Street. Now, these are topics that we've addressed with you guys before on other calls, not knowing who's been on what call. We're going to cover them again, and we're going to cover them in greater detail. So let's talk about lockdowns. Okay, pretty obvious, right? You guys all understand the impact on Main Street to lockdowns. You had to shut your doors. Ryan,
Yeah.
we had to shut our doors. Now, luckily, we were considered critical and important, so we didn't have to absolutely shut down.
I was critical important.
Yeah.
Were you critical?
I don't know, maybe
Whatever.
a little bit.
I was
I can
critical
run my
important.
mouth from anywhere, so I guess we can do that. But, right, these lockdowns, when you're forced to close your business, I got to ask you guys, how many of you, Ryan, how many business owners did we talk to that said, this is lousy, it sucks, but send everybody home. It doesn't matter that much because the bank called me up and I don't have to cover my note on my mortgage for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Did
Or
anybody say
because
that?
paycheck protection program. No one said that. And nobody was saying that, even though they had all of these special helpers, which are all gone now, by the way. Another little teaser. The only special helper a business has now is you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Sorry, I don't mean to steal your points, but
No, but it's critical. We always come back to that, guys. We're talking doom and gloom, and I hate just talking doom and gloom. We always like to bring you guys solutions. So yeah, periodically, let's bring that up and remind each and every one of you that you are, in fact, the solution to all of these problems that we're touching on. So getting back to this, we had lockdown. Okay, that doesn't need any extra explanation. You guys get that, right? In addition to that, we have a power shift. So when we're allowed to come back to work, right? Because we had partial reopenings, and I probably should have put that on here as well. Great, you can open your doors, but with 50% occupancy potential.
yeah, the greatest boil the frog in history. Are we open? Are we not open? We're kind of, this week we're on, but next
Yeah.
week we might be. So
Yep.
it depends. Hey, you know what? Remember this line? It's the science. We got to follow the science.
Yes. And I'm not going to even consider running down that rabbit hole between my opinions and each and every one of your opinions. We could make a whole call about the science or lack thereof and all the findings since then. But again, let's get back to the point. So we have a situation wherein now you can start coming back to work. You can partially reopen, whatever the case may be, depending on where you are in the country and what's going on at that given moment in time. But what had we been doing? What had we seen? Ryan, we even saw it here. Absolutely. We even saw it here when we sought to refill certain positions that we liquidated by virtue of, hey, folks are going home. This is not a relevant role right now with what we're doing and how we're transitioning. And then when we full on came back, we said, okay, let's do some interviews. Oh my God. I can tell you guys flat out, we did over on my side of the house in the sales room, looking at building up the in-office account managers for you guys. We did over 400 resume interviews, phone calls to put the first three people in a seat. That's a staggering reality. That's an unfortunate
And then you've
reality.
got to pay 175% what you were paying.
Absolutely.
Before the pandemic. And so that adds to
for
all
less
the equation.
productivity.
Yeah.
For less productivity. Because, listen, there's this little thing called muscle memory, guys. So we're still on the shift of power. There's this little thing called muscle memory. And when you have people sit at home for 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, right? Their work ethic declines.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I got a good one for you. So our programming staff, which by the way, if you're watching, they never watch our broadcast, but if you were watching, love you guys. You make all the tech possible and everything. And for those that might not know, our programming staff, 100% W-2 labor. Prior to COVID, 100% physically in the building.
Yep.
Okay. And the camaraderie and everything. Well, with COVID, everybody goes home. Jason, over time, what happens is even as we reopen, it's like, oh, where's this person? Well, they moved to Grand Rapids, they moved to Chicago, and and it's like, so hey, we're reopening the office. Everyone come back. It's like, except you've all scattered. And by the way, as this employee had turnover, we replaced them with somebody that lives in Austin, and so on. And so you're in that dynamic. But to the point about shift in power, I got to pay you 175% what I did pre-COVID. And by the way, you guys ready for this? You openly have another job. Openly.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, hey, we have our daily stand up at 8 a.m. Oh, that's the same time that I have my daily stand up with Apple. Like, what are you talking about? You can't work there. Guys.
And what are you going to do?
I have programmers right now that have 3 6-figure jobs. 3. And they're open about it. And Jason, that's the shift that's taken place.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing I can do about it besides change my expectation of I'm going to pay 2-3 times as much as I once did. And there's nothing I can do about it. And you're not available. And by the way, I got to hire extra project managers to enter little tickets in things like this so that you can work whenever you feel like it. So you're comfortable whenever you feel. And by the way, programmers, if you're watching, love you. Don't unionize. Don't leave. Don't ever, we want you here. I'm not asking you to go anywhere. It's just the nature as a business owner of what's happened.
Yeah, and we have to problem solve, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, none of what we're describing is your problem. This is not a woe is me situation. We're not sitting here crying. We are, though, pointing out in a first-person model or scenario or dynamic here, giving you guys some insight into what we encountered, into what we dealt with. Now, does this work for you guys? If there's a ticket, if Heather and team get a ticket and something needs to be done, is it okay for us to shrug our shoulders and say, oh, well, okay, but our people, well, this one's also side gigging over here. This one did it. No, that means we have to hire more.
Yeah.
That means we have to do more to fill the gaps for when person A is tied up with their other job. We have persons B, C, and D occupying that time slot, and we're constantly laddering and changing to make sure that we're able to perform and deliver in the fashion you expect us to.
Thank God our support department doesn't know their value because they may start making demands. So you got to stop on the Friday calls talking about how great they are because they're going to start trying to pull a programmer. So, but programmers love you, support. You're my favorite. So that's let's call it for favorite child syndrome.
Yeah, there you go. So again, guys, we have these lockdowns and the impact of them, which were so detrimental, obviously, for Main Street. And again, I'm going to step back and pull in some information and data that nobody else outside of we as an organization has. When you take a look at what we do with SRP as a prime example, we have direct insight into traditional Main Street business owners. And what I will tell you, and is backed up by outside statistics, is that 92% of Main Street business owners require the sale of that business to fund anywhere from 60 to 100% of their retirement. Why that matters and where I'm going with this? That matters because it demonstrates they don't have stockpiles of cash. They don't have money set aside. And where this goes now is when you're hit with a COVID, when you're hit with a lockdown, you don't have the resources to carry yourself. And we saw volumes of death, Main Street death I'm talking about, corporate death I'm talking about right now. I'm not talking about individual at an individual level. There we go. Let's get that mouth to keep up with the brain. At an individual level, I'm simply talking about corporate death. We had this stuff happening and happening fast, right? And drastic impact on Main Street. Now, again, we're going to come back. And just for the average employee, as Ryan said, as we've said on Mastermind, 150, 175, in certain instances, 200% per head to put the butt back in the seat. And more often than not, that person at that price level is not as effective as the person months before, years before that did the same job at lower cost. And now, as Ryan just outlined in our own example, we have to hire more people to fill in the gaps of the person we're able to hire at 150, 175% of salary. You start to get the picture of how detrimental this truly has been for Main Street.
Now, there's a third problem there. And I love that you've got it here. Tell me if I'm going there too quickly, but supply chain.
Oh, God, supply chain.
This
Absolutely.
has been disastrous for people. And I don't want you to underestimate. Supply chain affects everybody. It affects the service industry. It affects physical supplies. It's affected us. Listen, everything is harder to get, takes longer to get, and costs more money to get. Okay. And I'm talking about if you're a restaurant, we're talking your physical products. If you're a hotel, we're talking your supplies. If you're an office like us, I'm talking your toilet paper and your physical products that are out there on your refreshment bar for your staff to enjoy things. Every single aspect of life has become more difficult more expensive. And Jason, to your point, man, if there were an easier exit, I can see where there's a lot of days. Listen, we're not going anywhere. We're young guys. But you can see, Jason, where a lot of people just say, you know what, it's not worth it.
No,
I
it's
don't want
not.
to do it anymore. I'm exhausted.
Yep.
I don't want to do this anymore. But to your point,
Stem the
savings
bleeding.
accounts are gone.
Yeah.
Okay, interest rates are high. And now you're telling me that the only way out isn't to just drift off into the sunset like we once
not an
would.
option.
Okay, how did you used to leave a business? You either left it to your employees. Well, your employees are scattered across the country. How are you going to leave it to them? And higher turnover than ever before. How are you gonna let them run it?
And they don't want
while
it.
you go, and they don't
They
want it.
don't want it.
No.
They're sitting there coming to you all day, every day as the owner going, I need. Why can't I get? Why can't I get? You think they want to inherit
Yeah.
that crap?
So you
think
can't-
they want that headache?
So you can't scale back that way.
No.
You can't scale back by your savings account. So what does that leave to your last point? I don't want to revisit it too much. Selling. Except then we're up against that
Yeah.
market.
Good
because
luck.
Good luck. Okay, guess what selling's based on? It's based on demand.
Supply and demand.
It's based on what the market would yield for it. Okay, and when you're, a restaurant and you're paying, 40% higher. Now that may not sound like a lot. Oh, you're paying 40% higher for your product. Average restaurant has a profit margin of less than 30%. Do the math, guys. Okay, so now you're a restaurant.
Say it
You're going to
another way.
sell.
The language in the industry, every restaurant is one bad shift away from bankruptcy. That was a statement that existed in the industry before there ever was the word COVID. There was no COVID whatsoever. And that was the understanding. I see people chiming in chat right now. Those of you that have experience and knowledge in that space. Yep. See, we know what we're talking about, right, Ryan? As bad as it is, right? It's always been that bad. Now we add all of this stuff to it. And yeah, let's talk about supply chain. When was the last time you guys saw something about supply chain in the news? Early 23, maybe a straggler article in mid 23.
And yet every week, at the grocery store, they're still out of product.
Oh, yeah.
So we act like this isn't just, no, listen, there's as many people being infected by COVID as
ever.
previous times, but it doesn't make the news because people are tired. It's not new news. Okay. Supply chain, still an issue, but it's not new news. So they're not going to talk about it.
No, we've all done the whole boil the frog and we're just used to it at this point. We don't even acknowledge it. We don't even comment on it anymore, but we have to comment on it because it's a real impact or it's a real indicator to the overall health of the country, of the businesses that we're dealing with. And it's a major hurdle that they've no way to overcome. No way. They can go to this supplier or that supplier and try to find, we've used the language of unicorns. I'm going to change it here with try to find the unicorn that somehow, in some way, shape, or form, was able to grab a component of what they need. But again, it'll just be, even in those unique circumstances, a component. It won't be broad spectrum deliverability on all of the different assets that they need to do what they do to provide their work product, whatever their work product is. And I don't care what industry. We talk about manufacturing. Ryan, you're a genius and a master in the field of manufacturing. I can tell you guys right now, those of you that were around long enough to remember Mark Slater, right? Mark, if you're on the call, he's on so many of our calls. He was our sales manager. He's moved on to build his own business in the manufacturing field. And I can tell you, it is huge for suppliers in manufacturing. One of the number one things they're doing right now is they're going all around and soaking up all the broken parts and broken tools, rehabbing them and selling them at 500% of what they cost new. 20-year-old refab tools because the manufacturers have got them on 6, 12, 24-month cycles before they can produce this. Dear God, when this stupid little widget is the thing that stops your entire facility that's a 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, $200 million annual facility.
Yeah.
My God.
Shift of power doesn't just apply to the workforce. It's supply chain. It's every aspect of things. And the people losing by and large, Main Street.
Yeah.
This is what we keep coming down to, which is a big problem, folks.
Big problem.
Because Main Street's where it's at. Main Street is what's driving everything historically in America. So this is a big problem when Main Street starts losing.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to race through the rest of this here pretty quickly. What about inflation? Anybody have any comments on inflation? I know politically we keep hearing, hey, listen, we've avoided the recession. Inflation has plateaued.
I won't rabbit trail you, but there's a lot of comments right now starting to pop up about inflation. People have feelings about inflation.
Do you really?
So, yeah.
Do you? Do you have a feeling on this topic? I know a few handful of calls ago we popped up a slide. It was meant to be funny, but illustrate the point that the average Big Mac, it was Big Mac, right? It
Yeah.
was McDonald's, the average Big Mac value meal, medium size. We're not talking biggie or super biggie or whatever the hell the terms are at this point, because I don't go to those places. Try not to anyhow. $18 for the average value meal. You know, the thing you used to get for $3, $4, $5.
You're never going to look like me if you don't hit up McDonald's. I don't eat McDonald's either, but you're never going to look like me if you don't. So
I'm getting there. Oh, God, I'm getting there. And then the last thing, headhunting. Let's talk about headhunting. So as we talk about headhunting and what I mean when we talk about this topic, let's jump right into some articles for you guys, and let's take a look at not Jason's opinion of it, not Ryan's opinion of it, not what we think we see. No, let's talk about the overt language, the chatbots, right? The AI that the IRS is using to go after Main Street. How about the 90,000 new employees on Main Street? How about the fact that the IRS has built algorithms to focus just on Main Street businesses? Ryan, let's stay on this topic for a minute. Let's talk about taxes, because that's ultimately where we're going, folks. We're always in tax season, always. And the great thing about that is we have a tool for you that you get to apply at all times, instantaneous, immediate benefit that addresses that very topic. And it's a critical topic when you focus on what's on the screen in front of you right now. The IRS, America's attack dog, is out there focusing on Main Street business owners, because everything we've outlined for the last 20 minutes wasn't enough.
people have opinions about the IRS too. This is
Do they really?
This
That's
is
a
interesting. I'm glad you can't see comments, because this would you would side trail. I told myself I'm just gonna have comments. I'll feed them to you guys. I'm sorry, we're not doing Q&A today. If you haven't noticed that,
Yeah.
But I do love the comments and the energy. So I'm cracking up. So keep those going. But yeah, we just can't. We got a lot to get through, so I can't do Q&A. But you can put your questions in. Heather and the team will reply to them. So.
But real quick, let's talk about tax bills.
Yeah.
Let's talk about taxes, because there's a few different ways taxes take the head off of even successful business owners. Let's start at the bottom. Listen, if you're clawing out, and I don't care how little money you make, the IRS doesn't care how little money you make. They want their pound.
want their
might as well be
piece.
the mafia, right? I need my taste. I need my piece. Sorry, guys. I hope I didn't offend anybody there. But listen, that's just how it is. If you made money,
Came from the guy with the last name Ziccarelli.
yeah, if you made money, they want their cut. That's how it goes. And if you don't give them their cut, they shut your business down. They take your house, they freeze your accounts. That's just how it is. That's how it works. Now, beyond that, so you made a little bit of money, you can't afford your taxes. You just can't afford them. You used every penny just to keep the lights on, just to stay alive. Who comes to the rescue? Us? No, you.
Yeah.
You by proxy through us, because of what we do. Now, there's another level. You're an average business, right? You've clawed out. You're beyond survival, or you're at the cusp of survival. You start to do well again, right? Again, do you want to just stay there, or do you need to double down, get into marketing, maybe hire that extra person that you couldn't hire, but you interviewed, you couldn't quite afford it, but now's the time. I got that little extra money. If I could keep it, I can bring them on, and we can push past this bubble. How about the other level? And this is the one, Ryan, I love talking about. You always do a great job talking about this. How about the business that either it's their first breakout year, or for whatever reason, they don't communicate, right? They just don't communicate with their tax planner. They don't get it. And year after year after year, they make piles and piles and piles of money. And yeah, during COVID, we had industries that made piles and piles and piles of money. As we're on the heels of COVID, we have those folks that have figured out how to navigate this landscape and have rebuilt themselves. And maybe they're doing a lot of business online, whatever the case may be, and they've prospered. And now they've got this pile of money, but they reinvested aggressively in their business because, well, if I spend $1, I get $1 deduction. Is that how that works?
No.
No.
A dollar's not a dollar.
Nope.
No, that's math. We use
Yeah.
IRS math.
Yeah.
So that's math. That's
Yeah.
not we don't use math.
So how many times, Ryan, do we see successful business owners that profit to the tune of millions and millions and millions of dollars, yet have a goose egg when it comes time to the massive tax bill that's due, and there they sit befuddled? How? Why?
Yeah. Well, we use this basic math all the time when it comes to, say, cost segregation, and I won't sidetrack too much. But so again, it's really simple. If you made $250,000 in net and you decide I'm going to invest that in my property, I'm going to spend $250,000 doing this. You'd really simple. You'd look at the end of the year and said, okay, I netted 250. I spent 250 on improving my property. I made zero. And the IRS comes along and says, no, you didn't. You made $234,000 and give us our third.
Yep.
Okay. Or in some states, if you're lucky, give us our half.
Yep.
And so people don't understand that. And they say, wait a minute, I made 250 and I spent 250. I have zero in my bank account. IRS doesn't care what's in your bank account. They want their pound of flesh.
That's right.
Because what they've decided is best for you, Jason, is if you amateurize this.
Yeah.
What they've decided with your expense, sometimes you say, well, I'm going to take the employees out to lunch. And let's be simple with the business. I'm a small business. I made $100. And I say, you know what? I want to treat the staff. Let's do smoothies from next door.
Yeah.
And let's spend $100. I have zero left in my register at the end. I made $0. And then the IRS comes along and they said, hey, you profited $50. Okay. Because food's only half deductible and we're smart. So you profited 50. So give us our 1/3 of that. And here's the problem. And I know I've been using math here. Maybe I lost you, but let's be simple. Point I'm saying is at the end of the year, business owner has zero in their account, and IRS is coming along, like the greedy bastards they are, saying, gimme, 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 my name's Jimmy. I need this money. And what's a business owner to do? Okay. Well, they could do a couple things. They go borrow money at what? 22%?
Dear God. Yeah, because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be factoring money. And,
Okay.
and 22% on a
They
light
might as
day.
well find somebody else with vowels in their name and borrow from. So you bring that. Am I allowed to do mob references also? So, you know, they could go borrow money at 22%, or they could sell, but we already talked about that. Or they could go make more money. Okay, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
That used to be a good avenue for entrepreneurs. Go make more money. Okay, this is where we say,
compound the problem in the process.
yeah.
Right, because now you made more money, now you owe more
No,
taxes.
you're in a new
Yeah.
tax bracket. Congratulations, you owe us more. But wait a minute, I only owed 50,000 to start, right? But now you owe 85. Okay, that's the way this stuff works. And listen, this is why I'm saying, Jason, that you're the solution. You're not the best solution. You're the only solution. There's nothing else this business owner can do but you. And that's why we rant and rave and scream all the time and say, I'm going to do my first curse word of the call, which is pretty good. We're pretty far in. Get off your ass and get out there and go meet with people in person because they want to hear from you.
Yes.
Okay? They want to know you exist.
They don't want. They need.
Yeah.
They need. Start using that word. Start getting that language in your head. Start having it come out your mouth. Have that perspective in there. They need. Every situation we just outlined for you, the examples that we gave you are the examples that we encounter all year, every year, at each and every tax interval that exists. And again, the tax season's all year long because this is their wrestling match all year long. They're putting money aside every week, every 2 weeks, monthly, right, to make their quarterly payments, to do what they need to do. Look at a couple of those examples. In fact, let's look at the first example you gave. I made $250. I put $250 into my building. I'm at zero. No, you're not, right? Why are you not? Because you're going to amateurize that building and those
It's called
associated
IRS
costs.
math.
That's right, IRS math. 139th and a half. That's what we're going to deduct. The rest of it, gimme. Boy, what if they'd have run into a stride rep? What would a stride rep do? They'd show them their TMS, they'd tap a couple of buttons, we'd do a cost seg study, and we would address that very, very quickly. It's just one point. It's just one point within all that we do. So again, folks, have we gotten you the right perspective? Do you have a proper appreciation for the impact on businesses? Remember, we said there's two markets. That's the one market we want to focus on today. The next market is our citizenry, our people, and the impact that all of this has had on everybody involved. Right? We've talked about Main Street. And with Main Street, considering the fact that Main Street employs 62% of Americans, whatever happens on Main Street directly impacts 62% of Americans. In fact, it impacts more of them because 62% of the Americans that work on Main Street are heads of household. And heads of household then have their dependents, they have their kids, they have their spouses. So in reality, what happens on Main Street impacts every single human being in America. How they buy and get goods, all of the different stuff that happens, right? And when you shake somebody's confidence in Main Street, when you shake somebody's confidence in their employer, when you shake somebody's confidence in next week's paycheck, you all of a sudden start instilling a level of anxiety. And anxiety is an incredible motivator, right, Ryan? Really, The pain of death is the strongest driver in the world, in any sentient being. When it comes to your own salvation, your own maintenance, and that of those that rely on you, your dependents, it becomes critically important to you to look around and consider your options when you feel as though you're on quicksand. And millions, hundreds of millions of Americans have felt and continue to feel as though they're rooted on quicksand today. Now, let's add to that. Did inflation affect businesses and business owners only? Ryan, what do you think?
Everybody, every human. Listen, we're not just in the business of helping businesses. If you haven't figured this out,
Yeah, exactly.
businesses are made up of
People.
and people are people. So when we help businesses, and by we, I mean everyone, you, us as a company and everything, when we help businesses, we're helping our communities. We're helping everyone involved. We're helping their kids. We're helping the school system. We're helping no, inflation has decimated everybody, not just business owners.
No, and when we say decimate, like I can run stats forever and a day on the impact. But why don't we just reach out to you guys? Those of you that are already commenting in chat that we can see flowing in right now. And yes, Ryan's got it obscured, so I don't see it precisely because I will rabbit trail. You guys know that about me. But, excuse me again. But when we take a look at the impact, it has been crippling. Who on this call, either you directly or people within your family, your sphere of influence, haven't heard horror story after horror story after horror story as we move in and talk about the results and the byproduct of what we have now been experiencing in this country for the last 2+ years as prices they haven't escalated, they've exploded. In fact, let's start talking about these byproducts and actual examples. Here again, like I tell you guys all the time, don't ever trust anything I say. You don't have to. I show you the proof. Here are the articles. Here's the data. Here's where we're pulling from. So, car payments, 29-year high in defaults. Car payments. Is that the only thing? No. What else do we spend money on? How about our mortgages? When we take a look at home mortgages, more homeowners falling behind on mortgage payments nationwide. In fact, we're approaching the point that we saw in the last major market crash of 2007, moving into where we finally got things squared away.
I don't understand because the government said that could never happen again. That was a once.
Could never happen.
That was a once thing. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
But as we see, right, panic buying, as we see all sorts of different things happening, as we see people emotionally crippled as they come out of COVID, right? And we see all of this, the market is surging again. Things are coming back because of different things that have happened. I'm not getting into the political side of this. I'm not going into that. But people are buying more and more and more, and they're buying at these escalated prices. I got to tell you guys, my house today, when did I move here, Ryan? 7 years ago this August. I moved here 7 years ago this August. My house is worth comfortably 200% today what it was worth then, and I haven't put a dime into it. That's not an accurate statement. We've had to do some water system and some other things. But fundamentally, guys, I haven't renovated. I haven't innovated. I hadn't put on any additions. It's insane to consider the fact that my house is 200% in value or more, that which it was just 7 years ago. Now, add to that the frenzied buying that occurred even while interest rates were escalating in the government's effort to quell the spending that was happening on Main Street. I say Main Street in this sense, citizenry on Main Street, to quell your spending, right, as an emotional response to being locked down, as an emotional response to the hope, the desire, and the belief that things are getting better. People started taking action. Americans did what Americans do. They spent money. They demonstrated hope and ambition. And so now what happens? Well, as inflation continues to explode and grow, and people spent way more than they should have spent, not just on houses, but on cars, right? The current manager and operator of Ford, that still carries the Ford name, says the price for the average automobile is astronomical. It's out of line with reality, and it shouldn't be, and that we're due for a major reset. But again, it's not just your automobiles. It's not just your food. It's not just your houses. It's not just escalating interest payments and interest rates. It's everything. Everything that has resulted in the next dynamic I want to show you guys. Americans owe a record $1.1 trillion in credit card debt. Oh my God. So, is Main Street in trouble? I don't know, Ryan. I think we've demonstrated Main Street's in trouble. Main Street's been in trouble. And if Main Street's in trouble, America's in trouble. And it's a byproduct of Main Street being in trouble and all that has happened in America over these recent years, right? With COVID, with the impact on Main Street, with supply chain issues, with inflation, with all of these things, the citizenry are in trouble. And they know they're in trouble. They're taking action accordingly. So let's talk about now. We've gone doom and gloom. We've gone doom and gloom enough to this point. Let's talk about the positives associated with where we find ourselves today and the opportunities that it creates. Now, some of you, Ryan, have seen this slide. We've used this slide a time or two. But again, this demonstrates the dynamic that exists today. Americans haven't stood with their feet planted in the ground saying, woe is me, what do I do? No, they've taken action because that's what Americans do. They take action. So as we talk about, as you saw in the emails, building your army, right? This different language. Your army already exists. It's the 93% of Americans that said, I'm not sitting back waiting for my company to fail. I'm not waiting back to get the news that I'm not getting a paycheck this week.
I gotta interject here. Yeah. Part of it, and you're spot on, Americans are Americans and they're going to solve the problem. But there's another dynamic here, and that is that for some people, there's no choice.
Absolutely.
In fact, for a large portion of these people, there's no choice. It's not, well, look at the American spirit, although that's true. No, in part of this, it's the last two slides you just said.
Yeah.
They're behind on their car. They can't afford to get where they need to get. They are behind on their house, and they've got $1 trillion in credit card debt.
$1 trillion. In fact, let's go to our next slide, and it demonstrates this point exactly. Guys, if you look at the top 5 reasons, that somebody gets into a side gig, it's exactly what we were describing. It's exactly what Ryan just said. The top 4 out of the top 5 are I need to. It's not a matter of I'm ambitious. And yes, I was leveraging the American spirit, but the American spirit, that indomitable spirit that we've always been, right, bestowed with, that we've always bragged about as a culture, that's the, hey, I'm in trouble. My solution is not to stick my head in the sand. And really, that's what I'm commenting on. And I'm glad, Ryan, you jumped in there because, you guys could misconstrue where I was going with that and what I meant. What I meant was not, hey, these are just ambitious people looking to make a lot more money and live on Easy Street. No, these are Americans that refuse to be held down, refuse to be kept down, and leveraging that spirit to stay alive. But the staying alive is the thing that fundamentally drove it. And that's the fundamental reality behind it. And that's the reality that has resulted in this army that we've described that is buildable for each and every one of you. The army's built. You just need to tap into it. That's what we're describing. That's what we want to talk to you guys about as far as the opportunity. So
I want to because I'm worried. You just said something so powerful, and I'm worried that maybe people missed it. Okay. Let me sum it up this way. We're not telling you should go convince American businesses they need money. American businesses already know they need money. We're not telling you should go convince people that they should take on a side gig giving away money, because 93% are already convinced. They're already doing it, okay? Businesses are already doing everything they can do to survive. You just need to show up. Right time, right place, okay? Individuals, not just professionals, individuals are already doing everything they do. Do you think anybody is really like, hey, you know what I want to do when I get done lawyering? I'd like to deliver food to people.
Yeah, exactly.
No. And you've heard me talk about this example.
Lose my ass doing it. I'm sorry for interrupting. That's my first swear of the day. And lose my ass doing it. Every one of these side gigs are a losing proposition.
Absolutely. And so you look at this, but here, and you've heard me share. Allow me to repeat myself. You've heard this before. Here's my main problem with this. So I'm going to go realtor all day or lawyer all day or what? Can you imagine me as a lawyer? So would you hire me or not? I'm gonna be honest.
I would. You'd be good.
Okay. So I'll be a realtor. So as a realtor, I'm going to realtor all day. Now what's realtoring about? It's about building context, about building relationships, about knowing your market. It's about networking. It's about selling. It's about marketing. It's about marketing. It's about marketing. It's about marketing. Did I say marketing?
I think.
And then afterwards, I'm going to go deliver some food. Here's the problem with this. The expense I'm going to have in delivering food, my vehicle expense, everything else, they don't build
tires, brakes, rotors, fuel, right?
What does that do for my real estate business? Nothing. Okay, delivering food. Well, most food delivery is contactless, so you're not building contacts. What about your reputation? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, hey, let's get the name out, Ryan the Realtor and the DoorDash. Okay, So none of this makes sense. Okay. And this is where I don't mean to always be a Stride fanboy, but Jason, I'd be a Stride fanboy no matter what.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you be? We give away trillions of dollars. And here's my biggest part of all, and forgive me if I'm stealing some of your future points.
No, you're good.
But my biggest point of all is what we do builds the thing you want to do. So if I'm Ryan the realtor, well, now all of a sudden that's okay, because what I'm doing is I'm coming along and I'm giving away free money. I'm building contacts in the pride. I guess the point I'm trying to make,
But
when
let's
you
talk
deliver
real
food,
quick. Let's talk about giving away that free money. Let's connect the dots, guys. What do we mean? When Ryan uses this analogy, when we talk about the profession of commercial real estate as a realtor, and he uses this analogy, how are we building money? How are we building our relationships? How? Because now every single building you go to, every time that realtor goes to a restaurant and stops in that restaurant and runs their TMS and does a cost seg study and then talks to that restaurateur and says, listen, day ever comes, you want to build another facility. Day ever comes, you want to buy a competitor. Day ever comes, you want to sell to a third party. You need to bring me back to the table because we're going to tie a cost seg study, right? A property tax audit to that sale. And in this environment, one of the things we didn't touch on in this call, when we look at the pains and perils on Main Street, is the dynamic of supply and demand, and the fact that millions upon millions of Main Street businesses are up for sale with a confined window of time simply because of the age dynamic. Who owns them? And these are boomers that are in their 70s and beyond and can't run them anymore. And we've got this dynamic where a disproportionate number of businesses are up for sale today as compared to the amount of demand.
Yeah.
And that dynamic, as we progress over the next decade, is simply that problem's going to compound itself again and again and again. And so when you as a restaurant are up for sale, you're one of thousands of restaurants within a 100-mile radius that are up for sale. You're competing with each other at all times. And so that commercial realtor that brings the solution of a cost seg study, of a property tax audit to the table as a component of your sale makes you a more viable business, makes you a more viable sale. And it makes that commercial realtor a more viable, a more capable, and really a unicorn within their own industry. And we can go industry by industry by industry and show you how we produce this exact outcome for Main Street and for the professional.
Yeah. Most side gigging creates isolation from the thing that you really want to do. Okay. That's the part you've got to understand. It takes you further from your goal. If your goal is to be the number one realtor in, Northwest Ohio or whatever the case is, okay, delivering food on the weekends is taking you further from that goal. It's stealing your available capital, it's stealing your available time. It's all these other things. But let's be selfish for a minute and look at Stride. What does Stride do? Stride contributes to your goal.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I said it earlier, Jason, we're not talking about convincing American businesses they need money. They already know. We're not talking about convincing people that they need a side gig. They already know they need a side gig. In fact, they have to have it.
Yeah. They're not
So
paying
the
their
only
bills
question
without
is,
it.
which side gig should they have?
How about the one that works, right? We've talked about the opportunity. Let's get into the solution. How about the one that works? Well, you guys have ample proof of concept, right? You've been here, those of you that have been here for a decade, those of you who've been here 2 decades, you've heard week after week after week on the Friday call, right? I mean, by God, how long we've been doing this, how many thousands of people, how many of you have experienced this? You brand new folks, right? Just since you've been here, you're hearing it again and again and again on the Friday call. You've seen the articles, the content herein that validates everything we're saying with real stats, real third-party validation, real circumstances. You all have experienced this. You're all seeing it from every angle, every dynamic. You have your proof of concept. Within the hub, you have 600 hours of archived proof of concept. You have proof of concept from the standpoint now.
Proof of concept? I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah.
$37 billion, 23 years. Is your proof of
just
concept.
one field.
Yeah.
In just the tax side of the house. That doesn't touch on the impact of SRP and the billions and billions and billions of dollars there. It doesn't touch on billions of dollars in expense reduction. It sure as hell doesn't touch on billions and billions and billions, untold billions of dollars in underpayment. There's your proof of concept.
Yeah.
There's your proof of concept on Stride, on our delivery systems, on what we do and how we do it, on the simple fact of the matter that not only did we create this industry, we remain at the top of the industry. Anybody else that exists is a Johnny-come-lately doing their best to nip at our heels and copy and poorly at that. Copy anything we do.
Let me ask you something else just for a second. Even if Stride didn't have, just imagine this world for a minute, didn't have a rev share. Imagine that when someone brings an underpayment to the table or someone brings a TM, we had no rev share. Would it not still be the quickest, easiest path to your goal?
Absolutely.
If your goal is to get in front of more people, would you rather pick up the phone and say, "Hi, I'm Ryan the Realtor, one of many in your area. I would like to differentiate myself because my color is different than the other guy."
Absolutely.
By color, I mean logo, by the way. So let's not go there. No. Or do I want to come in and say, "Hey, I wanted to stop by because I work with restaurants in the area and there's $2.3 trillion available." Okay. That's how you differentiate. So Jason, rev share aside, all those commission stories we share on every
God,
Friday, even if we cut it tomorrow, don't worry, we're not cutting the rev share. Even if we cut the rev share tomorrow and said we're not doing that anymore, would Stride not still be the single best way you could ever think of to go get in front of a business? So every person you meet that's side gigging and delivering food, here's a question for you. Heather, go back one slide for me. Here's the question. Why are you delivering food?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
'Cause it's fun?
I need to make more money. No. You know why? Because they need to make more money, blah, blah, blah. And here's my second question for you. You want this? That's your elevator pitch. Question 1, what are you doing for your side gig? What are you doing for your job? What are you doing? Question number 2, why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Question number 3, what is it that you want to do? Okay, because everybody's got a thing. I want to write. I want to be the largest commercial realtor in Northwest Ohio. I want to do that. I want to build a consulting practice starting out. Great. How is DoorDashing helping you with that? And maybe they'll say, well, it's helping me because it's helped me build budgets, helping me do these things. It's helping me see these checklists here. It's helping me do that. Right. Let me ask you something. Besides the couple bucks you made, how did this really help you? What forward step did you make yesterday? Okay. And Jay, I'm going to skip ahead for a minute and say, what if I could show you something that would fast track you to where you want to be? Okay. Pause that thought because we're not there yet. But that's your pitch, guys.
It is. And the reality is that as a professional, and this is not just for professionals, you guys know that there's plenty of people on this call that I'm not saying you're not professional, by the way. I mean, a licensed professional. You're not a tax planner, financial planner, securities rep, a legal, an attorney, whatever the case may be. That's what we're talking about when we say professional. We're not diminishing any of you that don't carry those designations. What we're simply saying is many years ago, Ryan and I put this together with the idea of giving the professional, right, that secret pass, that hidden door to walk right through any business on Main Street. You know, the market that nobody can penetrate, the market that nobody's figured out how to get through in good stead with the business owner, right? The market that says, hey, go beat your head against the wall 100 times a day. And at the end of the week, you might get a phone call, you might get a client. That's what we're talking about.
I think this topic is striking a chord, Jason, without rabbit trailing. Look at all the comments that are coming in.
Yep, I think we're getting people's attention.
So, yeah.
So the reality is the structure was built originally with you folks in mind. Years and years, decades before there was a thing such as side gigging. Nobody even the term hadn't been invented at the time. We built the structure to get you through the doors you can't get through on your own, right? By talking about the things they care to talk about, by focusing on what they care about. Because as I've said 1,000,000 times, I'll say it 100 million more, life is a lot easier. You're a lot more successful if you can find a way to get paid to give people what they already want as opposed to what you want to sell them. They don't care what you want to sell them.
No.
Whatever the hell you want to sell them, there's millions of you and there's billions of iterations of what you want to sell. If they wanted it, they'd have it.
Yeah.
Right? They'd have it.
They'd order it on Amazon.
That's right.
Okay. Or they'd get on statefarm.com, or they'd get on Zillow or anything else if they want it. The reason they haven't bought it yet is because they don't realize that it's available to them. And that's really what you're doing. That's what you're putting in front of people.
So you're going to use us to get through the door. Your peers are using us to get through the door, to create the confidence by virtue of immediate success, to create the capital, to then turn around as they now appreciate you, as they now recognize you for the unicorn you are, as you have brought solutions to problems nobody in their life has brought. Now they're all too open to hear the rest of what you do. You're a marketer? Great. Let's talk about marketing. You're a financial guy or gal? Great. What plans, what strategies do you have for me? You're a tax expert? You guys get the point. Now, the other side is, as we talk about your own army, all of you on here and all of your peers out there in the world that are side giggers, that are innovative, hardworking, right, ambitious, entrepreneurial people, great. We're a turnkey business model. We're a brick and mortar facility, right? We're not smoke and mirrors. We're not something online. We're not an eBay resale, an Amazon resale facility with no actual presence. We're not some philosophical MLM, BizOp, all of this stuff. We're a brick and mortar building filled with professionals, filled with capable subject matter experts, comprehensive and diverse support department, division after division after division, manned with the best people in the country at what we do. Yeah. We're a real business
to earn you a great income.
Yep.
That happens to help your community that you're in, and that happens to be arguably the quickest way to your direct path to the goal that you have. We're not asking any of this army of people to abandon their goal.
No,
I'm just suggesting
them to
maybe
realize it.
I love that.
That's what we're doing. We're not going to ask them to abandon it. We're going to ask them to realize it, just as each and every one of you have or are in the process of realizing your goals, your dreams, as you come across this unicorn. Now I'm going to use it again. That is Stride. Look at the tools we've created. Look at the company we've created. Look at the delivery systems we've created. You put this stuff in front of the army that already exists, and you turn them into your army.
Yeah.
You turn them into yours.
Well, and partially, and I see this every once in a while, and I just spotted one comment. Why would we do that? Because wouldn't we be diluting the market?
Oh, God, no.
Listen,
we're never going to let that happen.
Here's the thing. You can't give away $2.3 trillion per year.
Nope.
You can't do it. Okay?
10
and
times
I've
you
said this
can't do it.
before. And by the way, we're only talking about one of the legs of Stride right now.
Yep.
Okay? We're not playing favorites. Just happens to be what this call is about. Okay? But I've said this example before. You got $2.3 trillion in your pocket. Name of the game, how much can you give out? Because the more you give out, the more you make. It's that simple. So let's start by acknowledging something. Businesses need it. You can't give it away quickly enough. What's the solution, Jason? Get some help.
Yes.
Don't be selfish, because here's the thing. You can't do it. I don't care. Listen, I live in a town with 13,000 people. Okay? We're like Mayberry meets Metropolis is what we joke here. Okay? But we have a Target and a Starbucks and some restaurants and things. Guess what? There's a handful of I was driving down our manufacturing boulevard the other day shooting a different video. I drove by 4 manufacturers that aren't my clients.
In our own town.
In our own town.
In our own town, guys.
Yeah. There's a Culver's that I was filming in front of a couple weeks ago. And it's funny because while it was being built, I kept joking to the guys like, hey, as soon as it gets farther along, and then I saw it show up on our project board. I said, who the hell closed the Culver's? Like, I thought it was one of, our people that work here in the office. And they're like, no, so-and-so did. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, the person who owns the Culver's here in my town owns 3 more. And they closed that Culver's and got all the Culver's for that chain and stuff. The point is, you can't do it alone.
No.
And why would you want to? Because the more money you give away or your army gives away, the more money you make. So the name of the game, Jason, how quickly can we get this 2.3? Because guess what?
Yeah.
The year's flying by. Year's flying by already. And yet next year, January 1st, another clock's going to tick. Trillions more dollars available. Okay.
But let's talk about flying by.
Yeah.
Right? Flying by. Guys, Main Street's presence, Main Street's existence is flying by.
Yeah.
Right? We recognize that. We have to recognize that disproportionately. Right? So when you look at pre-COVID numbers, we had 28.8 million Main Street businesses, and then the number would oscillate a little bit. It'd go up, it'd go down. In 2019, the economy had done well, and we added a few million businesses. At that point, we're right around 30 million Main Street businesses, right? Then we had a massive death toll as a byproduct of COVID. They still haven't settled on what the actual number is, but the expectation is that we lost about 30% of Main Street. Yet today, we've had a major upsurgence. There's 33 million businesses today. Wait, how does that work? Well, because a whole slew of these businesses are actually side gigs, or they're remote businesses, or somebody operating from home. In other words, they're not Main Street businesses. They're not brick and mortar businesses. And so as we've come back, as we see these numbers climb, it's not a suggestion of enhanced health on Main Street. In fact, it's the antithesis of that. It's the opposite of that. It's a pulling away from the Main Street business model, which again, as we outlined earlier in this call and other calls, we as a nation, we as a people can't afford. I mean, fundamentally, from a very selfish standpoint, Ryan, I've got to be careful here because I don't want to speak for you too much. But guys, I do well in life. I think that's probably an understood. The byproduct that is, I pay a lot of taxes. I hate paying taxes. I can do a lot better with my money, knowing how to
You're
direct
gonna blow up
it.
the chat again, talking about taxes.
I know it is what it is, man. I hate taxes. But what do you think from a very selfish standpoint, Ryan? Please speak for yourself. From a very selfish standpoint, what do you think is going to happen if and when Main Street dies and 62% of Americans don't have jobs and AI has stepped in to do conservatively 50% of that work?
Well, and let's just even for those that are like down on AI, okay, automation.
Yeah.
Let's talk about user interface. Let's talk about when you walk into your local restaurant, you place your order on a kiosk instead of with a person.
Yeah.
All of this is happening. And by the way, real quick, we're so against the top of the hour.
Yep.
That was our intro. Jason and I are going to go to our point here in a minute. I'm just joking, by the way. But don't go anywhere because we're about to arm you with something. Okay, so push your next call.
Yep.
And listen, if you attend any of our calls, push your next call. No, why would you book a call 1 hour from the start of one of our calls? You should know better than that. But listen, don't go, finish that point, but don't go anywhere because we're about to arm you with something that you can't afford to wait until tomorrow to get.
No, you can't wait. And really what we're coming to here is, listen, something happens to Main Street, it impacts you. Mm-hmm. It impacts you in a litany of ways we've covered on this call, in a litany of ways we haven't covered on this call. The point of the matter is everything's intertwined. Everything's intertwined. And what we're doing here on this call is we're connecting the dots for you. We're bringing this understanding together. We're galvanizing all of it. We're giving you a solution, and we're arming you with the ability to deploy that solution. And so at the end of the day, my last point on that is if Main Street fails, all of us are going to have to ante up that much more. And I'm not interested in doing that. And so now we've got our proof of concept. We've shown you that your army exists. You just need to make them yours. And it's the easiest thing in the world to do. In fact, Ryan and I are going to arm you with everything to do it with. And in fact, we're going to do it for you. We're going to drive them. We're giving you tools via TMS, via your toolbox to drive these folks to an event, the likes of which you have all attended, but infinitely more powerful, infinitely more explosive, infinitely more robust. In your calls, we just focused on underpayment. Right? This is the tool. TMS, this is the tool. This is the environment. These are the arguments. These are the dynamics that make this so powerful and so broad reaching. So Ryan, let's talk about this now a little bit, and then we're going to get you guys off this call.
You ready for me to show?
I am.
Let's show. Okay, let's unveil. Heather, you can flip to my screen here. So Jason, you just said it well. We're going to...
I say everything well.
You do say it well. Oh, there we go. I just say it better sometimes. But,
sometimes. Get lucky.
I was being nice. So, by the way, you guys know our banter. I love this guy.
Absolutely.
He sometimes loves me.
Always.
So we're going to do this for you, okay? Yeah. Because honestly, I love, and looking at the chat, man, some of you guys, like your passion, like I love this. And I love seeing the same people year after year that, have the passion there because it lets us know we're doing it right. But at the end of the day, there's nobody more passionate about this than us. And I'm not taking that away from you.
Or experienced.
So have you ever found yourself saying, man, I could go get a client if I could go sell a cost seg if Ryan would talk to my client for me.
I have 3 emails this morning. Somebody asking me to be on a call.
Somebody says,
I get it.
I could go sell a underpayment audit if Jason would pitch my client for me. But really, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Okay, we want to pitch for you. We want to build, not just with you, but for you. Okay, so I want to show you what that looks like.
And not just for you, right? Yeah. That affects us too. Right? We're all in this together, guys. We're all part of the same family. We're all part of the same system. We're all part of the same, the synchronous symbiotic environment whereby we either all succeed together or we all fail together. Yeah. So why wouldn't we throw all of our weight into this to help you be successful, just as you've seen these last couple of months, as we've repeatedly done for you? And disgustingly successfully, by the way, right? That's why you're all here, because it works. Well, we've made it better. Back to you, Ryan.
So next Thursday, we're doing something really special. Jason and I are going to be right here at this desk. And what we're going to do next Thursday, this is your event page, okay? You can't see it, but it actually has your name on it, your email address, your phone number. This is your page. And here's what we're doing.
You, guys. You. We're promoting you.
So here's what we're doing. We're unlocking the unicorn opportunity for everybody you know, okay? Not just for you. We've already done it for you, okay? But we're doing it for everybody you know. And so here you've got this great page where Jason and I are actually going to go live next Thursday on your page. Now, people can come here, they can add it to their calculator, and it's going to bring them back to your page. They can register or not. We prefer they register. You prefer they register, okay? And if they want, they can scroll down. They can see some testimonial videos. They can read up. They can see some more testimonials. So the main thing is Jason and I are going live on your page next Thursday. Now, the way that you get people to this, we don't expect you to just figure it out and magically get people here. When you go to your toolbox, you'll see a banner at the top. Now, the marketing team changed this out, so it may look a little different when you look at it, but we play with different graphics. But it'll say build your team, and that's going to take you to your toolbox page for this event. Now, all of you are familiar with toolbox pages, but let me walk you through this one because Kendra and the marketing team have done an amazing job with this. Okay, so this is your page personally, and the first thing we have is we have some emails, okay? So in these emails, we'll walk you through, and all you do, Jason, is you just cut and paste this information.
Couldn't be easier, guys.
Into your mail client, and you send it out. Okay, there's close contact number 1, close contact number 2. There's general ones. There's lots of them. You know why? Because you should be emailing over and over again. Then what I want you to do, I want you to follow up with a text message. Okay, so we've given you several text messages. Okay, now these are great text messages. I'll play in a little bit. A lot of this language is directly from Jason. It's after years and years and years of getting people to a call and expressing the opportunity that's there. The last piece I don't want you to ignore is your social post. Listen, don't say, well, I only have 20 people on Facebook, or I don't have many people on LinkedIn, whatever the case is. Listen, Facebook, Instagram, everything, they are so desperate for content that when you post a well-done ad, which these are well-done ads.
Boy, are they.
You don't have to promote it. I'm not talking about your Facebook business page. Let's be honest, no one follows your Facebook business page. You can post it there if you want to have fun. That's not what's going to get you results. Post it on your Facebook individual account, okay? Because Mark Zuckerberg is sitting over there and he's like, I got 1 trillion requests a day for images, and I only have like 50 billion images, okay? What does he do? He takes your image, this one right here that I'm showing you, and he plays it over and over and over again. People say this all the time. They say, Jason, how did I get a client I've never heard of before? How did I get you know why? Because Mark Zuckerberg's freaking out. He's like, I got 1 trillion people that want to see images, and I only had billions of images. I got to go steal from individual pages and put them in front of other people.
And
wish I
because
could do a whole training on just that.
Oh, my God. And because Ryan is damn good at leveraging that reality.
Yeah.
Ryan and team are damn good at leveraging that reality.
Okay.
And so that's what we're talking about.
See this one right here? You're going to right click, save image, cut and paste. You know why there's 9 on here? Because you should be posting every day.
Yep.
Sometimes multiple times per day. And so when you look at this, I want to quickly, and Jason, come back to you in 90 seconds. You're going to take this toolbox. You're going to, Heather, take us back to that quad kind of view. So you're going to take this toolbox. You're going to email the hell out of everyone.
Yep.
You're going to follow up with text, and you're going to post on social. That is going to drive people to this page right here, which is your page, where they're going to add it to their calendar, and auto-magically it's going to write to their calendar. It's going to take them back to your page, and they're going to register. Okay, this is all your stuff. And then auto-magically, here's what's going to happen. Next Thursday at 1 p.m., do you see this? Where can my mouse shoot? It doesn't matter. You can see it right there. Auto-magically, Jason and I are going to start talking to your army.
Through your website. Again,
Do you get this?
You.
And so we're going to show up, we're going to do this. And Jason, I'm going to hand the rest over to you, but please start with one thing. Jason, imagine for a moment, I'm an advisor, and I've pushed 100 people here, and they show up and they're sitting there, they got their popcorn, they're ready for the show. Thursday at 1 p.m., you're going to do something for everybody on this call right now. You're going to build their team for them.
Well,
I'll be on it too. But Jason does a lot of talking on that. And I do want to say one last thing that I said I was about to turn it over to you. And then we're not just going to get them into stride,
No.
because I could care less about numbers into stride. 4 days after that, on Tuesday, we're going to put them to work.
Yeah.
We're going to get them giving money away,
The part that matters.
aggressively, because that's how I make money. That's how you make money. That's how you make money.
Yep.
So Jason, give them a sense and then close us out of what's going to happen Thursday at 1 p.m. when that goes live and we help build their team for them.
What's going to happen is we're going to take this national, fractional, divided, non-unified army that exists, and we're going to make them yours. We're going to make them yours. We're going to put them to work. They're going to be as excited or more excited than you've ever been, because, again, as we keep doing what we do, we always get better. I'm better today than I was yesterday. I'm better yesterday than I was last year, and on and on and on. And so what we're going to deliver on this call is the epitome of anything we've ever done, and it's all for you. Now, again, that's a self-serving statement. You guys recognize when we say it's all for you, we don't benefit but through you. So again, we're in this together. Guys, this is the moment that you do, in fact, lay that foundation. You hear me say this on a Friday call. We're laying the foundation. On Friday, we're laying the foundation for next week, and next week is the foundation for the rest of the year. This event is the foundation for the rest of your business life. That's what this is. This is that seminal moment wherein you demonstrate to us, are you a serious player? We've shown you how serious we are. I'd love to pull up our bank account and show you for the last 20 plus years how serious we've been, how we've doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down, 10x down, and a million X down again and again and again to create the epitome of products within the environment, the perfect environment, the environment you don't have to sell. You simply need to bring attention to the fact that you're the solution to the problem. You're the fella, you're the gal with the life vest and the lifeboat circling the Titanic. Right? You wouldn't have had to convince anybody to get in that damn boat to put on those life vests. That's the same dynamic here. And we are at kind of the precipice of a national turnover, the likes of which, transition of wealth even, the likes of which humanity, all of humanity has never seen before since the inception of humanity. That's where we are. And so again, we put our cards on the table. This is your chance to put your cards on the table with us and show us you're a serious player. This is when you do what we're asking you to do to benefit yourself, to benefit your family, your legacy, your retirement forever. And in doing so, demonstrate to us that when we get that email from you, it's time to stop everything and jump right on top of it, right? Because the reality is, as a business, listen, you all get the quality, you all get the attention that we tell you you're going to get, but I'd be a flat out liar if I told you that there are not people here within this company that have demanded our attention by virtue of what they've done, and this is your opportunity to do it. So one, push people. Push for all you're worth. Leverage this stuff and do it again and again and again, like Ryan said. This is not, we're going to have you doing this stuff all day, every day. And for those of you that do it, I'm holding off now. I'm not going to say it now. I'll say it as we go through, just to keep you stimulated. We have a massive reward for you guys to participate in this, to do the very thing that at the end of the day is helping you. We're not asking you to help us. We're going to build your army with you, but you have to get them on a call. We can't build your army if they don't show up on a call. So that's your job. That's what we need you to do. And so, guys, that's all I have to say. Hopefully, we've brought enough attention to the situation. We've educated you relative to the situation. We've given you the right perspective. We've backed it up with the data, the details, right? And now we're doing the event. And all we're saying is get your share of the pre-existing army, whether you realized it before this call or not. 93% of every human you know, 18 plus, is already doing this. Now you need to circle the wagons, let them know who you are and what you're doing. Show them the real opportunity for the independence, the financial independence, the independence of time, the free will to go do what they want to do. right? That only comes from financial success. Show them that you get to play Santa Claus and bring that to them right now. And all they need to do is show up at a call and listen to two goofballs tell them what an incredible opportunity this is. And we'll do our part. Ryan?
We will see you next Thursday. In the meantime, you need to be preaching this, discussing this, and going, by the way, and I want to leave you with one last thing. When you talk to someone and they're in, don't say, great, slow down, join next Thursday. You join them today. You know why? Because they'll bring people the next Thursday. Okay? We see that every time we do an event. We see that every time. Listen, if you talk to someone and they're in, you tell them to get in right now, and you tell them to build their team next Thursday. Okay?
And that person will still count towards the reward that we're going to bring you guys.
Absolutely.
Okay? We're still going to count them. So don't hold back on, well,
No.
Jason said something about, no. They count.
It starts today. It starts right now. So for the next few days, what you need to be doing is you need to be talking everywhere you go, every restaurant you walk into, every Uber ride you take, every person you talk to, every person you've ever met. You need to be emailing them, texting them, calling them, and posting. Because if you do that and you get them here, I'm going to put it on this guy. This guy will do his job, okay? Because he's passionate. He loves what he does. He loves you guys. Sometimes he want to kill you, but he loves you guys, okay? He will show up and work that day if you will show up and work for the next week.
Absolutely.
That's all I got for you, and we will see you in about a week.
We sure will. Thanks, guys.